โทรมาหาผม2 วันก่อนว่าอยากจะมา2 ถึง 3 วันก่อนก็เลยบอกเขาว่ามาเวลานี้ที่นี่บังเอิญ3 อาทิตย์ก่อนเขาไปที่ร้านผมไปซื้อชุดไปแต่งงานเพื่อนหมอของเขาวันนั้นอาซิต้าของผมอยู่ในร้านเลยเราคุยไปคุยมาเขาบอกว่านี่พูดถึงอาจารย์คนเดียวกันกับมีผู้ชายคนหนึ่งเคยพูดกับเราที่ตอนที่อยู่ออสเตรเลียที่สถานทูตที่นู่นนี่บอกว่าผู้ชายคนนี้ป่ะผมเอารูปบอกให้รูปของซุนดารา เขาบอกว่าใช่ แล้วก็วันนี้2 คนที่ไม่รู้ว่ามาอยู่เขาโทรหาผมคนเดียวก็เลยซุนดาราจำไม่ได้ว่าเจอเขาที่นู่นแต่รีมายด์เขาจำได้แล้วใช่ไป embassy ที่ไป apply มาวีซ่ามาที่นี่แล้วสุดท้ายมาที่นี่แล้วเมื่อกี้เราคุยกันว่างานแต่งงานร็อกแซนอาทิตย์หน้าวันศุกร์หน้าเสาร์หน้าแล้วเขาถามว่าแต่งงานใครคุยไปคุยมาเขารู้จักร็อกแซนเขาไปด้วยเขารู้จักร็อกแซนด้วย
รู้จักคนที่คุณรับใส่จะแต่งงานด้วย
Do you know the person Roxanne is getting married to?
I do, yes, just a little bit.
รู้นิดหน่อยก็เหมือนเรา
ต้องซื้อชุดแต่งงานเป็นงานร็อกซันด้วย
ไม่ใช่จากร้านผมแต่ร้านผมวันนั้นเขาก็ไม่ได้ซื้อจากผมเขาดูแล้วหรือไม่ชอบเลยก็ไปที่อื่นเขาได้มาจากที่อื่นจากเจ้าสาวแหละเจ้าสาวเขามีเยอะเลยให้เขาไปใส่ไป
เจ้าสาวเป็นคนไทยหรือ
คนไม่คนศรีลังกาSri Lankan your friend
My friend, yes.
That's why you like to have some sari
and she wore a sari she wore a sari she didn't look for sari when she came to my shop she wasn't looking for sari in the end she wore a sari one day and a suit and
just for the ceremony
for the wedding that her friends wedding You have a question?
I do.
Thank you, Ajarn, for being here. I met a woman in the street the other day, very briefly, and she I won't go into the details. We just met, and then we didn't have time much to talk, and she asked me she said, "Can you give me very brief description of what the Buddha taught?" And like it was maybe 2 or 3 minutes that we had, and I went through. I just spoke the 3 words anicca, and explained what it meant: impermanence, no self, and because of impermanence and no self, everything is unsatisfactory rather. And she was very grateful, and she said thank you, but I mean that was very brief. What would you say to somebody who asked you for a brief description of
the truth about now?
The truth about now.
Yes.
Yes. What else?
3 minutes.
3. Yes. The truth about now, about seeing and about hearing and about tasting, smelling, touching, and then thinking about all the things that are experienced.
What appears now? What is that which appears?
Well, at the moment, for me, it's
Yeah,
visible
just
object. But
begin with something that she can think about.
Right.
Not we just want her to listen, but that she can think by herself about the truth.
Right.
What is now? What appears now? Because it's now. It should be known.
So that's the Upanishad Gochara, is it?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not yet the Upanishad because it's just very short and just the first time.
I sometimes feel, maybe because I don't understand it much myself, but I sometimes feel a bit awkward about just saying what you just said to people.
They might expect something very, very far away from now, like as Ariya Satya, the Four Noble Truths or something. But actually what is now? That can be
Now is-
known.
Now that
Yeah.
can be known, yeah. Yes, it makes sense.
And what is there now?
Well, like I said, this seeing, this hearing.
They have no thinking about that because they
Right.
haven't heard about that.
Mm.
They think about something else that they are used to think about.
Mm. So Ajarn, actually I heard one talk this morning, and it showed the big difference between your understanding and everyone else in that room. When someone was asking about seeing, whether it experiences one color or many colors at the same time. And I think Kunnipat answered, or somebody, about it does not matter, and he was giving an explanation. And then you came in and you said the point of hearing the Dhamma is to relook, means attend to what's now, what appears now. So I saw that while we try to explain people abstract, nothing to do with now, we don't even think about seeing, hearing. We just talk in abstract about the tilakkhana and whatever. But we forget that this understanding has to start with what appears now. And that's what you always remind us. It's like it's so easy to get lost. Like you said, it's our habit of thinking and thinking and thinking. So, and then Kunsuri, I think she said that, so that's the point of Dhamma. That it's not the answers, but to remember to be aware now, to understand what's now. So it does not matter. I mean, if someone has had any understanding, because only those who have heard in the past can understand Dhamma, will appreciate after hearing. So if they've heard enough, then talking about now will interest them. Right? It's not a matter of being good with words and trying to give an explanation, because that can also be an object of attachment. Right? Thinking about things, but are they interested in seeing now, hearing now? I think that's the key.
Well, then I have to ask myself if I find it difficult to go straight to those objects. Do
It's
I
because
find it
our
difficult myself?
Because
or is it
because
my own
that's why I say the
understanding?
difference in understanding. Ajarn's understanding is so firm that she sees that it's always only now, only here, and ours is not. So that's why we don't come back to this moment. We just talk a lot about this and that in the abstract. And sometimes we think that an explanation can condition an interest in the other person, but explanations are just another story. If there's no understanding, it'd be just a lot of thinking with no understanding.
Even we are talking about what's now, it's still not conditioned to understand it yet. It takes quite a long time to understand. The simple word like now, see, and who can understand that as not self, as just, it's so real. It's a reality which is different from other realities. And how it arises, what conditions it's arising, see? Otherwise, before we can know that it's not self, it arises and falls away, and it's, what about just arise and fall away, never to return again. So what's good benefit about having it just for a very, very short moment. To just appear and then never appear anymore. Completely gone. Never to return. Each thing now.
Even a little bit of understanding, a tiny bit, listening again and again. I was listening to a talk this morning and you were talking about the powder, the sprinkle of powder, little by little it goes in, and we have no control over it. Just listening, the sprinkle of powder goes in, and that is the way that the understanding slowly develops. Can't make it happen.
When we talk about the seeing as just a moment, see how short it is. Just arise to see and then never to return again after it has fallen away. And then if there's no thinking deeply about it, what's the use, what's the benefit about seeing now? See, it's gone completely, never to return, each moment. Not just seeing all realities, just arise and falls away by conditions. But we still think about that which has gone as it's there, permanent. It's not true. So it's just like we are dreaming about that which appears all the time.
Before hearing the Dhamma, we dream about other things. After hearing the Dhamma, we dream about Dhamma. Still dreaming. I think that's the difference between Sariputta and us, is that when he heard, he wasn't thinking about those words. He understood the reality at that time.
And I also heard on a tape or a recording, Jonathan was saying, like seeing, hearing, tasting, they're all vipaka. They're just vipaka. It's just result. Arises for a very brief moment and gone. And yet we place so much importance on what is seen and what is heard. But it's always just going. Very brief rising moment and then gone.
But I wonder why just talk about vipaka, because everything, it's that way. All chittas, even in the javanas, it's just gone.
Because the discussion is around that.
Kathy, you're beginner, you need to ask questions.
Don't feel pressure. Any pressures.
No. I wanted to start, not just listen and we don't even know whether she understands or not.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to really say. Do I have to do this? Okay.
No words, just so far what you've heard. Anything makes sense on?
Yeah. I was just thinking about it in my life, not in Buddhist terminology, but yesterday my colleague left me out of a discussion, and then something attached to my mind in that person doesn't like me, and I replayed that as a whole thing in my mind that distanced myself from that person, and I got really upset and angry in the moment, and then it changed my relationship with her in that moment. And then I thought, hang on, is that real? Is it true? And then I kept replaying it for the next half an hour in my head. And then I thought, okay, I might have to let that go because it doesn't really work for me. So I was seeing my thing, whatever it is. Yeah, so I think that's what I was hearing for myself in my life. Yeah, so I let it go, and then it's actually, everything's fine. It's just however everyone is, basically. I think that's my understanding.
I wonder if you will agree with the suggestion that while there's the idea that there's a letting go of certain thoughts, there's the you who's there, and there's a lot of attachment to the self. So it can be the self that lets go, but actually it's just attaching to something else. It's attaching to the self. So there's the idea of the self also, who needs to let go. The idea of a self who has to let go of this, let go of that. But at that moment, there's no letting go. There's attachment to the self. I mean, it's very. We've all accumulated that, and it's very, very hard to actually see it, even intellectually to understand it. Most people don't even appreciate it. The idea of that there being no person, most people don't. The Buddha, for a moment, hesitated from teaching because it was so deep. What he enlightened to was so deep. So, but he did see that there were some people who could understand, who accumulated from the past, and he finally taught. So the Dhamma is actually for those who can understand, and it's, if there is understanding, nothing is more useful.
Well, I think it's also, when we experience all these objects through sense doors, like seeing and hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and then there's a bunch of thinking, making up big stories about what happens. We do it, all of us do it all the time. Even probably those enlightened have their stories, but they know that those stories are not real. But it's so, and it all happens so quickly. As soon as, even when you're not even consciously thinking, you still got, what you're looking at, because there's thinking and because it's remembered what was seen, so there's a name to it.
Tanajan, what would you say to Kun Catherine, when we have those feelings of being left out and alienated or pushed aside, what would you say in those moments?
No one can do anything at all but to understand the truth. That cannot be changed at all because it's an absolute truth. So when we have such understanding, we don't mind about the others thinking about us at all or anything, because what should be known in this life, which is very short, is the truth of this moment that can be known by really attend to the truth from different ways, like hearing, like a conversation about it, thinking over it. Like now, see, if there is no now, can there be any understanding of anything? No, see? So now and now and now is very important to understand that actually it's gone all the time. It's just conditioned to arise, to be something so very, very rapidly and then fall away rapidly. Everything so very rapidly gone. Nothing at all. But it's true, but it's very deep and hard to get it, to really experience that, because each word of the Buddha can be directly experience the truth. So true that now there is seeing. How come? There must be conditions for its rising, not I who can make it arise at all. And whatever is seen, not under anyone's control, everything, even the sound you heard from your friend, unexpectedly, who knows that it will be such and such word. So, and now it's gone. So that which is completely gone, should we cry for it?
And also, Ajarn, in one of your talks, as a reminder, you someone was talking about how he treats other people well, but it's difficult when to maintain that good treatment if when the other person does not do that in return. And then you reminded him that we forget that what we receive is the result of our own deeds, right? So we have to take responsibility.
It's not that person's action or deeds, but it's your own in the past, which conditioned such a moment as the result. Yeah. Not that person, but the proper time ready to condition such hearing. Not from that, but from anyone or anything, like the horn or the...
Lightning.
Yes.
Or you could be hearing somebody else shouting at somebody else, which is harsh.
Not mean for you, but for the other. But it's time for the result of the deeds you have done.
And when you see the reaction, as such as yours and everyone, it happens all the time. After 19 years, it's still happening the same way as you just described for me, is that we react because attachment to self. We give ourselves so much importance. We don't want anyone to say bad things or look down upon us. That shows our own unwholesome tendencies, our own attachments and ignorance.
And actually, it's completely gone, but you're still in trouble. So, whose fault? Whose fault?
I think she realized that for a moment, right? And you realize that it's useless, you know. I mean, you just, you stopped after some time, realizing that it is pointless to be thinking over all this, right? Because it's not happening, right? It's something that you're going on in your own mind.
So you just keep on hurting yourself. And what is that? Memory. Arising and falling away as well. Nothing can stay at all. Because even memory changes from moment to moment by conditions. You do not just think about that. There are other things that you think about too. Not only that. It just sneaks in from time to time, that's all.
Is it sneaky to say
Sneak in. I mean, nothing is permanent. Like I try to remind my son Haji, he suffers from anxiety attacks and whole days and depression. And then I remind him, but when there's seeing, there's no thinking, there's no depression. When there's hearing, there's no depression, because that's the truth. It just, we don't have that much understanding, and it's just too much akusla arising after hearing, after seeing, after. But that's the truth. When there's hearing, there's no problem. When there's seeing, there's no problem. The problem is the thinking that follows.
So there's much more mind or than sense doors.
But the mind does not appear at all.
Because I mean, while I'm talking to you, I'm thinking this all that I can see, but it's not like that. It's
Uncountable realities arising and falling away, unknown. Only sees, and there's sometimes no thinking about seeing. While seeing arises and falls away, and this sneaks in between.
So, Ajarn, when in a day there's not even thinking about seeing, how can there be direct understanding?
Mm-hmm. No one can do anything. Just study, understanding, and right understanding works its way, not you. But when there is no right understanding, it seems like it's me who shall do, or who can do, and who will do. And what actually is I? Can you find the I? I'm sitting. Think about in darkness, the world of darkness, and only a reality arising when there is attention to it. But when there is no attention, nothing appears at all, even in darkness. But so many realities arise and fall away from moment to moment, uncountable. They are not seen. Like thinking, see? So many thoughts not known as it's there for a very short time. It seems like nothing appeared. What we learn from Abhidhamma does not appear at all. The Panchatvara, Vachana, the Sampatichana, and other that.
Well, I'm not going to talk about Sampatichana, but
It's there.
I understand. No,
In darkness.
yes, but my question was going. You know, we're talking about we hear something and we don't like it, and those people don't like us. Blah blah blah. How much of that is wrong view, or we don't wrong view only arises occasionally, or maybe a lot?
The moment you take it for I.
Oh, that would be all the time.
Cannot be.
No, I realise it can't be, but it feels like. So could I say there's a lot of wrong, at this stage there's a lot of wrong view in a day?
Arising or not, depending on the moment.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much more mana in a day. And mana and wrong view can't arise together.
Yeah.
Acha, can you say something about the Four Noble Truths? I want to hear something more about the second Noble Truth, Lopa, the cause of dukkha.
It's now.
I need to hear. So, how is it the cause of dukkha?
Ignorance.
Lopa is the cause of
Ignorance. Condition lopa.
Okay.
Condition dosa.
But-
Condition.
But the second Noble Truth is Lopa.
Right.
So, how is Lopa the cause of dukkha?
Because you just want to experience the truth.
So Lopa is wanting more and more experience, whether, whatever, everything.
If it does not appear, no one knows it's there. Like now, this moment, no one knows it's there.
But even if somebody knows, but the understanding that says that it is the cause of dukkha is something. Can we understand that at the intellectual level?
Okay. Is there any moment to have the Samma Sati?
Depends on conditions.
Usually. Even right now, and even at moment when there is just a little bit trying to have it unknowingly, while there is attention to such and such object. Panya knows whether at that moment there is lopa or not, or it's by nature or conditions, natural conditions. So when it arises, it has a reason. There can be understanding that I didn't make it arise. no expectation, because it's like any object or reality which arises by conditions. No one can do. As soon as it appears as its condition to arise, there is a little bit understanding that that is not I, because it has arisen by conditions. And so, when there is a moment of wanting to have anything, and one is trying to have it, it's there. At moment of trying to have it, but one takes it for the way, the path leading to understanding. So it's the hinder of the understanding the truth at that moment. That's why it's the cause or the secondary satya.
So it's showing that it's the opposite of wisdom.
Right. When lopa is there cannot be wisdom. And when there is wisdom there, no lopa can be there at all.
Well, that dukkha, the first noble truth, dukkha, would that be like, I know that one of the meanings of dukkha is that everything's impermanent. So, but that dukkha of the first noble truth, is that dukkha, or is it just unsatisfactoriness of everything?
It is the panya which can understand that. See? For example, we just talk about it.
It's the panya, so the first noble truth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The first noble truth is the cause of no.
There is dukkha.
There is dukkha. So yes, because it's the panya that knows there is dukkha.
Yeah. Because we just talk about that which is conditioned to arise from nothing to be something and then nothing again. So what's the use of having it arise and fall away? To understand this is to understand dukkha. It's no use to have something just arise and then fall away, never to return at all. Just for detachment and ignorance only, to have more and more. And that is dukkha, because there's nothing. Another word for anattana is sunyata, and one knows when it's gone, no more, never to return, that it's sunyata, like nothing before it has arisen.
I like your description of, you think you've got it, but you open the hand and there's nothing there.
Yeah, and until then, there cannot be the understanding of the dukkha ariya satya, because it's not just pain or unpleasant feeling, but it's anything which has arisen. It must have conditions for its arising, and whatever arises falls away so rapidly, no more, like before, which it hasn't arisen at all. Just like that. So what's the use of having such thing just arise to be there for a moment and then gone completely, never to return in samsara, the circle of birth and death? It cannot be seen.
So Ajarn, any difference between dukkha as one of the three characteristics and dukkha of the first noble truth? Any difference?
If there is nothing arise, how can there be these three characteristics?
So dukkha as in the first noble truth refers to everything about a conditioned reality.
Right, that arises and falls away. Just this word. Does one get anything from it? To see nothing in life if nothing arises, and as soon as it has risen, it's gone completely, never to return to be such a thing that you like anymore. So you like what? Nothingness, that which is gone from life to life. So it's dukkha, because it cannot be permanent. And it's no more, but you still think about it, cling to it, think that it's there all the time. Like now, we think about Kun Sujin, but actually that which appears arising and falling away all the time, everything. And when that is directly experienced, see, nothing but that which appears so very clearly, because other thing that is not there, only one characteristic. See, as not me, that characteristic is that which experience or that which is experienced. That's all. No one by then. Dukkha. No more, no more, no more. Otherwise, when it's still come together, it's something to be object of clinging, because not directly experience the truth yet of that object as it is. So the teachings have 3 levels: listening, intellectual understanding, and then direct experience, that which is said, the arising of reality, only that, so that it can appear the moment of falling away. By then, nothing more. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Whatever arises falls away. But now, it's not that moment. So, what about that which now seems stay permanent all the time? That is not the truth. The truth is that when it appears as just one, that only one falls away. When they come together, the succession of the arising and falling away of all conditioned realities never show that it's gone, and succeeded by the next one all the time. No one can see the arising and falling away, because Panya is not that degree yet, because not direct experience as that characteristic which is not self. Hardness, see, does not appear as it is, as only hard, arising and falling away. But when Panya is such degree, no one can stop the truth of it which arises and falls away. Only through Panya of that degree. The Pariyati, the Patipatti, and the Pativeda, different degrees. Otherwise, Buddha didn't teach, because it can be directly experienced from understanding that seeing is not hearing, different moments. But so many seeing now, so many things appear, because each rupa has to impinge on the eye base. Each one so very rapidly, but it seems like they are together. They cannot be separated. A glass is a glass, still a glass. But actually, that which is seen is not hardness. And without that which is seen, there cannot be the image of that thing as something known, as this or that, different shapes and forms. This is ignorance.
Yes, ignorance. Not only that it seems like everything's happening at the same time. It seems that everything's seeing is happening, hearing is happening, thinking is happening, while seeing is happening all the time. Seeing seems to happen all the time. So that actually shows how much ignorance there is. Ajahn, just now you said something about Satipatthana. When understanding at the level of Satipatthana arises, it knows that everything's just gone, empty. But it seems that to have that firm understanding that everything is gone, empty, is not just Satipatthana, it has to be Vipassana Jnana, right?
But it's the beginning,
it's the beginning, yeah, it's
of
accumulating.
understanding what Satipatthana is, what moment is different from other moments. So one knows by oneself whether it is Satipatthana now or not. One doesn't have to go to the teacher and ask about whether it is Satipatthana. It's impossible for the others to know what's there in the others.
So, Ajarn, how blameworthy is a teacher of meditation who, when a student comes and asks, is this, and he answers, it's like this, it's like that.
Is that the blame the teacher or the one who listens?
But the teacher also seems to be doing
But
wrong.
you don't have to believe.
No, that's right. The student is the student, the teacher is the teacher. I'm talking the act of the teacher. The teacher is just deluded, no intention to mislead.
There is.
There is? So you're saying there is intention to mislead.
Not to think over it.
Okay. Right.
Is this why the Buddha sort of encouraged people, don't just believe me, find out for yourself?
Even his words.
That's his
That
words,
can be
yes.
proven because it's so true.
Ajarn, I have a question. For those who want to do meditation, they're misleading, they did not see the fact that they actually attach, they have this attachment to want to go and sit. Because they're missing this, so they think go and sit and meditate. They get somewhere. They get peaceful or something.
It's the ignorance.
Yes.
So it's ignorance.
Yes.
And it's never one thing. It's many things. All akusla, all kilesas, they get a chance to.
Because I have difficulty to explain to my sister.
No, it's not just one
Yeah.
aspect. Because if it's wrong,
I know it's
if
many
it's wrong,
aspects,
wrong,
but because they're missing that
Mm.
they have this attachment that they want to go. They want to do this strong attachment. That's why they go. So they're missing that is the kilesa. Of course, ignorant. You don't have to talk about it for sure because they didn't know. But I think they just have so much strong attachment to go and sit because they think they get somewhere.
Because
and
of
they can't,
ignorance.
Because of ignorance.
Ngai. It's ignorance, then everything else follows. The wrong dhammas follow. But Ajarn, would it be correct to say that I understand that the wrong view, self-view, leads to other kinds of akusla. But is it also the other way? That
No.
No, it's not. Means that, for example, someone who meditates also has mana, also has attachment to pleasant feeling. Whether those also encourages wrong understanding. You're saying no.
It can be.
It can be. Oh, okay.
And Ajarn, they claim that once they go and sit and and then be calm and all that, they come back to a normal life. Like before, they used to be very very easy temper, have angry easily. But once they go and sit and meditate for a while, and then they come back like a different person. So they think that is calm, and they like that very much. They think it's changing something. It's not like they're not changing anything. They change to become a better person.
There are no interest about understanding at all. Just want to be calm. Just want to get something.
So that's why I said that, because they have this attachment that they didn't see.
I mean, anyone will changing their routine. Someone who wakes up 8, starts waking up 5, his life is going to change. In a way, in that sense,
Yeah.
So if you think that it's because I'm waking up, I'm a better person, that's wrong understanding. There is change of routine and change of the things you do. If you weren't doing yoga, you suddenly start doing yoga, your life is going to be different, right? So there is change, but not no understanding, as Ajarn said. And the point of Dhamma is to understand. I mean, if you're going on the right path, then the measure is whether there's more understanding or not.
Why think about them?
What was it, Jimmy? What?
Why think about them?
Well, I guess we try to understand and help people and explain to them. And I think what Cornell is saying, it's quite a common belief that many people have they say they are more calm now. And I think what Kun Su Kin said was correct. You change your routine. You might go and live in another country, for example, and you feel more comfortable there and happier there, as opposed to living in another country. That doesn't mean to say that the conduct of the citta really has changed much. Different objects, usually perhaps there's more attachment now when you go to live in a new country as opposed to the old country, whatever that was. So it's like we cannot, it's like they're saying correlation doesn't equal causation. You might feel calm, but as Ajarn has always pointed out to us, we should really scrutinize and think carefully about what really is calm. And most of the time we don't have the good teachers to help us to understand that there is calmness and there's calmness and there's calmness. Many different types, and mostly they are not calm, even though they seem to be calm. We may feel good, we may feel happier, we may feel softer even, but that's still not a measure for what is good or what is kusala. So the Dhamma, that's why the Dhamma, Ajarn is always telling us to be respectful of the Dhamma and to consider very carefully, because we're easily misled, especially when it comes to pleasant feeling. If it feels good, we always think it must be good. But the Buddha, and we always see that in the Abhidhamma too, so manasa can be kusala or it can be akusala. And it's sometimes very subtle, very tricky, very deceptive to figure out what is really kusala. And many of us, of course, we want pleasant feeling. We want it, and what Kun Su Kin was doing. It's the second noble truth. That in a way they're just wanting more of the second noble truth, the cause of dukkha, which is hanging on to pleasant feeling. So Dhamma is difficult in a way, and unless we've got a good teacher, and if we haven't got the accumulated wisdom, we will get lost very easily, and we go along and see that. Yeah, I've said enough.
I mean, the other day, a friend of mine came to the shop, and he asked me, he goes to the Sikh temple, listen to Sikh talks and all that. So in outwardly, he's trying to be a good person. And so he asked me, I still get angry a lot at my wife. Does that make me a hypocrite? I said, why would that make you a hypocrite? He said, yeah, but I do this, I do that, then why am I still so angry? And I asked him, do you question when you have attachment? Do you see that as a problem when you have? No. You particularly want to not be angry. So Ajarn, it seems that when there is this concern, when people start talking about not wanting to be angry or having a better life or anything, means there's not enough understanding. I mean, if it's panya, then it doesn't mind what it is. Isn't it, Ajarn?
So when I said, why do you think about the others? It doesn't mean that don't think of them, but to think that how can we help them instead of trying to find out the faults or whatever they do. Because They are ignorant. No matter what they do, out of ignorance.
I'm not quite sure what you said then, Ajarn, about we want to help them,
But not think about his faults.
not think about his faults.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What did he do about this and that? How did he think like that and it's wrong or something like that? Because out of ignorance they do such and such
Mhm.
things. So
Mhm.
the best way to help them is help them understand that they don't have any understanding, so that they see the value of understanding.
Because ultimately there's no one, there's just
Right.
what appears now. And if there's understanding, then it's understanding of what appears now. When you're thinking about others, it's just thinking at that moment. If you're thinking about others good and bad, it's thinking with akusla. And if you are pointing out at others akusla, then you forget that about your own akusla, right? And that's the point of Dhamma, just to understand and purify your own chitta. Listening, the four factors of stream entry: meeting the wise, hearing the correct Dhamma, right consideration and practice in accordance with Dhamma. That's the conditions for developing wisdom.
Okay, wise consideration. I've got written here, the proximate cause of ignorance is yoniso manasikara, meaning unwise attention to objects. But unwise attention, or even manasikara, it's never really known, is it? I mean,
At the moment of akusala.
at the moment of it has to be a yoniso. But that's not what would appear. It's more like the dosa or strong attachment.
So many things.
Many things,
do
yeah.
not appear.
It's just the other day I was walking through the market and I kept being pulled. Well, I guess, I like that. And in the end I was really feeling really irritated by looking at these objects and liking them. And I was actually thinking of the Dhamma, you know, how attachment arises whenever.
What object would you like to be aware of?
Well, what object would I like to? Well, I don't want to be. I have no attachment to being aware of anything.
No selection.
No selection, because that's it, isn't it? No
Whatever
selection.
is there should be known.
Yeah. That's a really hard thing to grasp. As in, I hear what you're saying, and it's quite a difficult.
You mean you forget about it?
Oh yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, I forget
But
about
what
it.
did Buddha say after his enlightenment about Dhamma?
What did the Buddha say about Dhamma?
About Dhamma after his enlightenment, after he has enlightened the truth.
It's difficult. It's very, very, very difficult.
And that's the one you forget.
Yeah.
So during this, while I'm hearing both you and yourself speak, like I'm getting experiences of nothingness, and then that might be just a feeling, but I feel like I'm getting a direct experience. So, but then I'm wondering, like, I've always been taught to meditate, so then I've just been made aware of that meditation isn't pivotal here. Is that correct?
Yeah. You are taught to meditate, or you're taught to understand what meditation is.
Did anyone who taught you meditation even hinted at the importance of understanding what meditation is? Or he just suggested things to do and follow?
The latter.
So, what about now? Do you think it's something to be understood or just follow? Shouldn't there be understanding about what something is before following?
Sure.
Right. So, Ajarn, what is meditation?
So we don't meditate now.
Okay. Is there meditation now?
I feel yes.
What did you say?
I feel like yes.
You feel like yes.
What is the object of your meditation now?
The Dharma.
What Dhamma?
Oh, okay. What Dharma? Just the discussion right now
About what?
about the understanding of.
So it seems like you mean meditation is considering, contemplating, but not the direct understanding of that which is heard as not self. The I is selecting something to be known, but not to know or to realize that actually there is no one, but there are different dhammas. Even thinking is not a self, it's a kind of Dhamma which has conditions for its arising. Without conditions, nothing can arise. And it has to arise according to the conditions, not more or less at all. Just exactly like when conditions to be that, it has to be that, not the others. And what will meditation bring about? Nothing known as understanding.
Did you expect something when it was suggested, or you reasoned that you should be meditating?
I think that it was a mixture of both. It's like,
So what was it that you were expecting to happen when following those practices?
an eventual unexpected enlightenment.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Enlighten what?
Well, not an enlightenment, but the calming of the mind eventually leads to an understanding.
After enlightenment or before or what?
Not after enlightenment, but maybe it's meditation is like the vehicle toward calming the mind so that
To
I
calm
can
the mind,
see.
not to understand.
Sort of also as a medium to understand is what I thought.
What is better?
Understanding.
I mean, even what is calm, isn't that something to be understood? Isn't it easy to do something and believe that it's calm and in fact it is not? I mean,
Yes.
you know, everyone will do it and everyone will think that it's calm. But do you think everyone would be correct? Is it possible?
No.
Unless there's understanding for each person to know what it is, right? So don't you need, even from the beginning, to know what calm is, at least intellectually? Because if you were to go somewhere and sit down and then you are peaceful, like anyone would experience, say, on a retreat, on a holiday, and feel and think it is calm, wouldn't that be wrong?
Yes.
Right.
It's not.
Mm. So what do you understand by calm? What is really calm?
I guess what I was talking about was being present in the moment. So not exactly relaxed, calm, the feeling or experience, but it has you be in the now enough to understand. And possibly I've mixed it up. I mix it up myself with just feeling calm because I don't take the time to, or I don't have an intention to want to understand. So I just follow through with things because I'm not actually intending it. But now I see that everyone here is intending for something greater than just
No.
doing.
No. We all have a lot of attachments, and we all go wrong. And what each of us here have slowly begun to realize of how much that tendency is in each of us. And if it wasn't for the Dhamma, we go all out in the wrong direction. Right? So, and it's still there, and how slow and gradual the step is. This is just baby steps we're learning, and we'll continue being babies for many more lifetimes. So it's a slow process. We're not aiming very high. But the difference right now is, at least intellectually, when we hear about calm, because earlier you were talking, you said that your meditation, I mean, I understand when you're questioned, and then you are not so, you can be, distracted, and led to think one moment, another moment. Earlier you said that the point of meditation is to be calm and then have understanding, and just now you said that the point is to it's not the calm of a retreat, it's the calm that involves understanding, being present and understanding, right? You're saying it's together. So now I don't know which one you're talking about. Anyway, so if you're talking about understanding, then we need to also know what is meant by understanding. When the Buddha talks about understanding what? Not like understanding 1 + 1 makes 2, right? Not that. Right? Must be something more. So that meditation that you are following, what do you think you understood?
I'm not at the moment. I'm not. Yeah.
What you're saying, I think, is that you're beginning to realize that what you thought you did and understood is not what is different from what you're hearing here today, right?
Oh no. So it's relevant to what I'm hearing today. So
It
that's
is?
yeah.
So you must have understood. You're saying you understood those things during meditation, the things we are talking about now. So
Yes.
maybe I want to review and ask, can you say what is understanding, and what does understanding understand? That which you experienced during meditation.
Okay, well, for me, in my own words and my own life, it's more I connect it to what all my thoughts related to my day and all my concerns. I apply the Dharma to that in very much letting go of attachments. That's my main thing in meditation, and I actually find that most of my meditation is actually a majority is about what do I have to do every day, what do I have to do, and that's there. And then after meditation I realize, yes, my mind's very clouded by attached to the self, so then it helps me to see how attached to the self I am, and then go from there. Like in that moment I have understanding. So that's my way of using the Dharma, perhaps.
Jan, what do you
I think that you answer.
Okay.
I just want to know if you meditate.
No, we don't.
Okay.
I used to.
I
used to, yeah.
but I didn't see any results.
But after I came here, then it's not a question of result. It's just realizing that it's not the path. It's not the way. When I asked you what understanding understands, what wisdom understands, and earlier we were talking about experiences to the 5 senses in the mind, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Which do you agree that these are real in life, from moment to moment? A moment of seeing, a moment of hearing. Is that real?
In this form,
Right now. Is the seeing now real?
well, it depends also.
What do you mean by it depends?
I mean, because it's just a construct, isn't it?
That is thinking
Uh-huh.
about other things, but not the seeing itself now. Is there seeing now?
I'm not sure.
See?
Mm.
So strange. Why there is seeing, you are not sure. Is there seeing now?
When you're wondering
Yeah.
what it is and you're saying it's a mental construct, is there thinking at that time?
Yes.
And is thinking real?
So, I don't know. Is it?
So nothing is real.
No.
But even now, when you're thinking that nothing is real,
That's not
hearing my
real.
voice, is it real?
No.
Not-
Is it?
See?
To me, it's not.
After meditation, there is no understanding even whether seeing now is real. After meditation, no understanding even is seeing now real.
I mean, the concept of enlightenment. What do you think the Buddha enlightened to? Enlightened means to come to know clearly what the truth is. So, what do you think the Buddha came to know? You don't know.
No idea.
And you think you're following the Buddha's teachings when you don't even know what he and why he taught. What is he talking about? About nothing, right? He was enlightened to, and then he taught. He revealed to us what he discovered, what he was enlightened to, and then many people got enlightened. And why they enlightened? Because they knew, there was understanding to know, yeah, this is the truth. So there must be something that's the truth, isn't it? Or nothing. Seeing? Is seeing real? Hearing? Is hearing real?
I mean that if you don't go to meditation center, you can answer this.
If I don't go to meditation
Yes.
center, I can answer it.
But
Okay.
after that, you don't know whether it's like, see now is real or not.
That's what
Okay.
last week there was a new student I suggested similarly when he was asked a question and he hesitated and he thought he automatically went to scientific explanations about how things happen in the brain and all that. And I said, if you asked a small kid whether seeing is real, he wouldn't hesitate to say that it is. Touch is real, it's real. Hardness is real, it's real. But the problem with us is that we've accumulated a lot of our own ideas from what we've heard and then our own wrong understanding of the way things are. So we automatically give, lean to those explanations, and then there's doubt about the reality now. So similarly, Ajarn is saying that if you don't go to, because of some things you've learned from there, that's why you're having doubt now. So that's why they say wrong understandings conditions doubt. They go together. So, Jan?
If you don't go to meditation center, can you answer whether see now is real or not?
I guess yes.
See, very simple, very truthfully. It's now see, so seeing is real because it arises. If it doesn't arise at all, how can there be seeing this moment? But there are conditions for its arising. Without the eye base or eye sense, seeing cannot arise. If the visible object now does not impinge on the eye base, there cannot be seeing right now. That's why we cannot see what's is behind. See, because there's no eye sense or eye base there at the back. So real. Just arise and falls away. Because at moment of hearing, there cannot be seeing, because only sound is direct, is experience. Nothing can be experienced by hearing but sound only. But there is seeing many moments. It seems like we also see and hear at the same time. But actually it's not. That is the rapidity of the arising and falling away by conditions. No one can make it like this, but it has to be just like it is, by conditions. So what is self? Is that self? Or that is seeing, arises and falls away? It cannot be self. Otherwise the self's gone. Never be self anymore. But there is the idea of self from hearing and not knowing that which sees, that which is seen. So there is the idea about everything from memory of the shape and form. As soon as one opens one's eyes, so many things appear. But just a reality which is impinged on the eye base can be seen, one at a time. And its lifespan is so very short, only 17 moments of citta arising and falling away. It's gone. No one knows.
When Ajarn was talking earlier about everything being empty, it didn't mean that there's nothing. It means that the nature of everything that's real is that it rises and falls away, never to come back, completely gone. That's the meaning of empty. It doesn't mean that there is nothing. There is something, but that something rises and falls away in an instant. That's the nature of seeing. The problem with us is that we don't know that they are. For us it seems like seeing lasts, that what's seen is there for us to turn back to. But actually that seeing falls away so fast, and the visible object means that which is seen also falls away immediately, and the seeing now is not the same as the seeing just a moment ago. It's a new seeing. The seeing itself is new, so is the visible object that contacts the eye. Even the eye is new all the time. It rises up and falls away. It's conditioned by karma, rises and falls away. One moment is conditioned, another moment conditions the ear and does hearing, right? And it rises and falls away. That's the nature of reality. That's the difference. It's not saying that there's nothing. It's saying that there is something, but that something is gone. And it's already gone by the time we're thinking about it.
And that is the development of right understanding. Very little from moment to moment. It's the way to eradicate the idea of self. Because actually there is no self. There are different conditioned realities. Dhamma, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. He enlightened the Dhamma, the truth of Dhamma, and he taught the truth of Dhamma, that is the Dhamma, and then the followers who can become enlightened from hearing and considering and developing understanding on and on and on, can attain the truth like him. And that is not go to somewhere and sit and walk. No, nothing. And that is the word meditation. But it's not the development of understanding at all. It's just doing something with the idea of it will condition enlightenment. Yes.
When you say conditions, what do you mean? I'm not understanding.
Can seeing arise without conditions for its arising? There are paccaya.
Reasons.
Conditions, for example, seeing cannot arise without visible object contacting the eye. So the visible object is conditioned for seeing, so is the eye. If there's no eye, a blind person cannot see. So here, this is an example of conditions. And Ajarn was saying there cannot be enlightenment without conditions. It means that right now, for us, the conditions for ignorance is a lot, of attachment, of aversion, of everything unwholesome is a lot. But condition for wisdom is not there. Or if there is, it's just a beginning. And the conditions for enlightenment is lifetimes after lifetimes of right understanding accumulating, the small, so accumulating. That's the condition for enlightenment.
And not just seeing everything, every conditioned realities arising and falling away needs the proper conditions for its arising.
It's like a supporting factor. There has to be something to support what appears, or there has to be a reason for it. There are different reasons why things happen the way they do. And conventionally we can use that word, but it's a good question to ask, because paccaya sometimes is translated sometimes as conditions, or reasons, or roots, or factors. But it's important to have the understanding about what those words represent, what's been spoken about. So, yeah. So Kun Sujin was talking about without, like at the moment of seeing, which appears now seeing is real, without the eye and without the object, there couldn't be seeing. So that's some of the conditions. So there's no I in there. There's no. Well, it's not a very good example. There's no person there. There is the physical I, and there is the object, and that is a condition for seeing. One of the conditions for seeing. There are supporting factors.
And there can be conditions for the belief in there being a self, and that's wrong understanding, which we've all accumulated a lot, and which would arise a lot more if we didn't hear the Dhamma. So that's what conditions the belief in soul, for example, or belief in God, because there's that wrong understanding, not understanding the nature of seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, thinking. It's the failing that one believes in a self who is here, experiencing so many things, and who came from somewhere, and probably God created. These kind of ideas arise because of that wrong understanding. But wrong understanding itself is a conditioned reality that arises and falls away too. And what's the only solution for wrong understanding? Right understanding. Very good.
Can there be understanding without hearing the right words?
Not sure. No.
See, if you don't go to meditation center, you can answer quickly.
No.
But Ajarn, is it always just people who go to meditation centres that can't answer? I mean, you can ask anyone. You were saying a child. You ask a child. I tried it with one of my granddaughters. Said, "Is there seeing now?" And she went, kind of. She didn't know. I think it's just until she's 7.
7. But there is seeing. Why think so much about it?
Well, that's what.
Maybe
That's
she
what I
heard
mean.
her mother talk about it.
No. I think it's because as I said, we focus in on people who meditate. But I think a lot of
Maybe
people
she
out there.
thought about taking examination, so she thought so much about it.
Maybe you came across as asking something.
No, I felt it was just a simple question, and she had to. Then she didn't answer yes straight away. She
So
had to
what
think
about
it.
hearing?
I didn't ask her
See?
that. I didn't ask. I didn't go any further. But I'll ask her that the next time I see her.
Okay. Ask more kids,
Ask more, yeah.
not just one kid.
Yes.
Also,
Yeah. But like I said, it's not just people who go to meditation centres. It's a lot of people. I've heard people here saying, "Well, seeing, not quite sure what. Maybe they don't
like
understand
7
the
years
question."
old.
No, adults.
but the difference between the meditation center, those who go for a meditation center, and everyone else, not just us, but we get confused too. But people who don't follow a Christian or Buddhist or Sikh or Hindu or Muslim, is that the people, as Kathy own experience, the people who meditate go, they think they are following the Buddha's teachings. They understand what the Buddha's teachings is. I think that's the difference.
Yeah,
And then they end up misrepresenting the Buddha's teachings, thinking that the Buddha taught that, not about
Buddha
seeing,
taught
hearing,
to
smelling.
go and walk and sit.
Did you join a place, here in Bangkok?
I just do it by myself.
Self-taught.
Sort of.
Oh, there are so many books. And I think you'll agree that idea of meditation, you don't even have to be interested in the Buddha's teachings, right? It appealed to almost everyone, who's interested in religion, right?
Yeah, it's becoming like very mainstream.
And here, when I came here the first time, I had also explored others. Like I said, I meditated and I've listened to other teachers. But one impression I got in the beginning when I came here, only now do I start to understand the Buddha's teachings. Before that, I called myself a Buddhist and I said, but I realized that I didn't understand anything at all. Only now I'm beginning to understand, and how hard it is. And it's good, even though it's hard, and it's going to take longer than I used to think, because in that, when before some of us thought that we can be enlightened in one lifetime and all that. Not discouraged, because it's good to know the truth. Then it's better than being wrong,
I was impressed with this Burmese guy in the clip that you just interviewed him not long ago. The Burmese guy, he's turning a radio and listening to Ajarn, and then he listened for about 5 minutes and he turned it off, and he get really angry because Ajarn saying that Ajarn said that the monk should not get the money, touch the money and all that, and he was very angry. So he switched on and off his phone for 3 times. And eventually he told himself that he has to finish in her talk in the YouTube. And he said to himself that he wants to really find the right teaching of the Buddha, want to hear the truth. So if it's anything that's wrong, he doesn't want to take it. But if it's right, he would take it. So he decided to listen to her. And eventually he was just like so happy, yes. And he's counting, he's counting like 1 year, 1 month and 15 days. 2 months, yeah. He counting like that he said he found the right teaching. And then amazing that he really like not long, and he understood a lot of
He
things.
understands Thai.
Yeah, he understands a lot of things. It's amazing.
No,
He said
Thai,
they're
Thai.
seeing.
He listens
Yeah,
to Thai.
he spoke broken Thai actually,
Okay.
and he said they're seeing, they're smelling, there's everything here now, but we don't know. And I
Can
was
you
like,
forward me the video?
yeah, I will. Yeah, it's amazing. I was really respect him, his idea. He said if it's not right, I will not listen, but if it's right, then I will listen. Yeah.
That's why we also, in the Buddha's teachings, refer to the perfections, the 10 perfections that dhammas that support the development of understanding. And one of those perfections is sincerity. What would you call it? Satya. And what's the English? Truth. It's like sincerities. If you have not accumulated that tendency to be sincere to the truth, to what's real, then unlike this person, you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear. You just stop. But there was this accumulation of insincerity. He was willing, even though it hurts. He wanted to hear the truth.
And I have a question. I have to find
And how difficult it is for everyone. It must be. Why? Because we've accumulated the idea of self. I can do this, I can do that. To come to really accept that there is no I who can do anything, that's hard. It takes a long time of continuing to listen and understanding. I mean, even now, we understand only intellectually, but then there's the idea of self always comes up, tries to assert itself, all the time.
This lady, Kun A, from Bay Area, San Francisco, she was asking me whether I go to temple. I said I didn't go to temple for a long time because I didn't want to see all these monks doing wrong thing. So anyway, she said she usually very good cook. She cook food all the time to the temple for the monk and all that. And she said now she said now I don't want to go to temple anymore because I find that I'm so different than the other. When they talk about all the things that what the monk do and not do, and I try to explain to them that they won't listen. So I'm the only one person only in the whole society that didn't agree with them. So what they do.
This is what I
So she
saw
said.
monks.
So she said she
She
stopped.
you monks.
Yeah.
She didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
Right?
She and she said I didn't go to the temple for 3 months, and the people in the
Calling an ATM.
and the people at the temple are begging her to go back, and she said, I just couldn't do it. So am I doing a wrong thing? But and she felt very uncomfortable because she said like the other day her friend took the monk to play bowling. Bowling. And she said, yeah, and she said, this is not what monks should be done. She told her friend, and they won't listen. They said, well, monks should ต้องไปเปิดหูเปิดตาบ้าง อะไรอย่างเงี้ย So she said she's very, she's the only person in that society that is so different. But she said so she doesn't want to go and involve with them anymore. And she finds it's very difficult because now she knows what is right, what is wrong. So whatever they do there is all wrong, all in that temple in Bay Area. Yeah. So she said to ask you what she should do, and is she doing the right thing? That she's not going to the temple and be looked down on, like she's not respect the sangha.
It has to be her own decision, and it shows how much understanding is there.
I mean, earlier Ajarn was talking about not talking about other people's akusala, but helping them with kusala. So it's always that it's not like saying that you can't have good intentions towards them. You should towards everybody. So if she has good intentions, it's all right. And also, you remember the first blessing is not to associate with fools. So the situation is such that she doesn't have to associate with fools, right?
And I've always found that one about not to associate with fools, the Pali word is bala. Bala, which means a child actually, or someone who is unlearned. So the word fools can seem rather judgmental or rather harsh, but it's someone who does not know, essentially. Sometimes we use the word in English green, they haven't heard the teachings. In actual fact, one of the beginning Pali grammars is called the Bala Vatara. It means the entrance for the unlearned, for the young children. That's the book they used at the beginning. It's the beginner's manual. So I always found that helpful when it said that's one of the great blessings, to disassociate people who are Bala, they're unlearned, they haven't heard, they haven't been fortunate to meet a wise person. They haven't been able, therefore, to consider carefully what they've been told to do. There might be, a monk or a young samanera, and if they haven't got the right guidance and support and the right encouragement, then they'll just keep on doing what they're doing. And everyone thinks that that's the right way. But ideally, as Kunsukin said, we should always try and have a good heart and be compassionate sometimes, because sometimes we can't help, because people think and say that that's right, or they don't like you criticising. And as a general, and we shouldn't really criticise in that sense of the word. We should always try and help them if we can, but sometimes we may not be able to. They just,
like a situation.
Yeah, that's right. They're not interested because they like what they're doing. It's fun, as you said. You mentioned the example of a monk going to a bowling gallery, which is just absurd, really, and it's wrong. We know that, but if people just do it continually and they see monks, they'll think, oh, that's what monks do, and they haven't seen or been told anything else different. So why should they think it's wrong? But when you've heard the Dhamma, you've met the wise person, you've been able to consider it carefully, then you begin to see that there are certain behaviours that a monk should not engage in, and that because that conduces towards the lay people not feeling good in their own hearts and has many unfortunate side effects to it too. So it's just habits that people get used to performing, and they don't question it anymore. We should always consider, always question, always, I like the word to scrutinise and carefully, always what we hear. Like when Kunsu Kin was saying, yes, I too used to go to a meditation centre. I went to different places at different places in India and places in Thailand here. And when I first heard Ajarn, I was really confused. I wondered what she was talking about. So Kunsu Kin did much better than me. I was just confused. And it took me a long time to think, oh. And Ajarn first of all said to me, because I asked her, I said, well, I've been going to these different meditation centres and now you seem to be saying something so very different. And she just said to me, anybody can say anything. And that was such a wise response. They do. Yeah. And she didn't tell me not to go. She just said, anybody can say anything. I said, oh, that's true. That's right, I could understand that, but I didn't like it. But that's what a wise teacher does. They help us to understand and to consider carefully. If we haven't met the helpful person who helps us to think more carefully, then we just get further and further lost. And we see it everywhere in the world today. Not only, of course, with the Dhamma, with with so many things.
Chan, can you say something about when the Buddha suggested somewhere that if you can't meet a person who's wiser than you, then find someone who is equal to you. If you can't find someone who's equal to you, then go alone.
Mhm.
Can you say something
Yeah.
about
From Tipitaka.
in this situation, would that be relevant?
So what is meant by association with?
Association just means what kind of chitta arises.
It does mean just see, just once or twice, but
Oh,
it
okay.
means associated with the pala. Not associate with the wrong one.
I mean, if you can't find a wise person and you can't find someone you're equal, then the option between going with the fool or alone, the alone is better. But of course, it's not like we become, out of self so conceited to start judging who's wise and who's not wise. That's why I said earlier, it works out. It seems to work out well for this lady. She's not saying, "Oh, I don't want to associate." She's still thinking that she should not do that. But it turns out that the situation has worked out well. That now she doesn't have to go around with such people.
I think what you said a moment ago about anybody can say anything that's really it's not judging anyone, because it's like, well, you can say they can say what they like. It's what we believe, and we'll believe whatever suits us. If we think someone, even though they've got a really crazy way of teaching or whatever, we'll follow what we believe. So it's not their fault. It's we have to look in here.
So, Ajarn, the difference between a normal Putujana and a Kalyana Putujana is the Kalyana Putujana will always point to the reality now.
Understanding the
Understanding.
truth.
Yeah, it is the Kalyana. What is it?
The Putujana is every one of us who's not enlightened. Anyone who's not enlightened is a Putujana. The meaning of a Putujana is one who is thick with defilements.
Okay.
Yeah, thick with the defilements. But then they distinguish between a normal Putujana and a Kalyana Putujana. A Kalyana Putujana is, hopefully I'm one of them, is someone who's heard the Dhamma, has some right understanding, and can share. At that moment, when there's right understanding and sharing, Kalyana Mit is a friend, right? Referring to someone who's a friend. So is someone who's sharing the Dhamma, but with right understanding. Right? It has to be the right Dhamma. Then only can it be said to be Kalyana Putujana at that moment. Otherwise, if I'm here sharing with you about which movies to see and what to eat, then that's not Kalyana Putujana. That's just another, like anyone else, right? So when it's Kalyana, it's sharing the Dhamma with understanding.
Please.
So forgive me, because a lot of my questions come from trying to get it right and trying to discount my own beliefs. But when you say, like, there's no I, if you ask a kid that, would they say yes?
No,
No?
I don't think so. Because that's right understanding. And when we're saying a kid will agree that seeing is real. We're not saying that he's having right understanding. We're just saying that there's no wrong understanding for a young kid to come up immediately to deny. But for us, it does. A wrong understanding, doubt, and everything comes out. But if you say there's no I, that depends. That has to be with right understanding, that there's no I. Where you can talk to him and say, the seeing, is seeing real? And he agrees. Is smelling real? Is the thinking real? And go through all the 6 doorways, and then you maybe, if you say that, is there anything else apart from this? And if he says no, and then you say, so what is the self? Then maybe he can reason, use logic, but still it's not likely that it will be said with understanding that there is no self, because there is no self is not just an abstract idea. It's understanding that there is only one reality arisen by conditions at a time. That's our life from birth to death.
If one doesn't use the term for oneself as I, how can one know that it does mean other people? That's why even Buddha himself used the term Tathagata for himself. It doesn't mean that he has wrong understanding, but it needs the word to represent this, not that. With understanding. For some people who do not understand this, make excuse as soon as they say I. See, no, it shouldn't be like that, because it means this person, or this one, or not that one. With the understanding that actually it's just the word to represent, to be known as this or that.
So it's just a convenient concept. It's okay to use that. We need concepts. When we talk about the Dhamma, language involves concepts, ideas, so we need them. It helps us to develop understanding of the other reality that's not caught up with concepts. So I don't want to confuse too much, but as Ajarn was saying, that we have to use certain words at times, and even the Buddha used the word I, or he referred to himself in different ways, like one of them was the Tathagata.
I mean, it's automatic. It's the way things are, that after hearing there's thinking about that which is heard, after seeing there's thinking about that which is seen. And so there's going to be thinking about this experience in terms of what's seen and what's seen, right? So the idea of somebody sitting here and somebody there is going to happen. It's part of the way, otherwise we wouldn't be able to function. But the only difference is that with right understanding, you know that it for what it is, that it's just thinking, a collection of memories and whatnot, right? Based on what's rising and falling now. But if there's no right understanding, if you've not heard the Dhamma, then you believe that there is really a self here who is seeing there. So that's the difference. So in the case of the Buddha, he didn't have those wrong ideas. And yet it happens like us, that there's thinking after seeing, there's thinking after hearing, and the perception of him sitting here talking to you will be there, but not with wrong understanding.
That's why we have names, word for everything. What do you call this? See? If you don't use any word or concept, how can anyone know? If you explain, it's something transparent and it can hold the water, see? Too long. But I think that even simple question will bring to the understanding of the truth. And to be truthful person, to know what's right and what's wrong, and panya, which understand the right one doesn't take the wrong path at all. Impossible for right understanding to the truth will go wrong. So the simple question like whether is seeing now real will bring more and more understanding from questioning on and on for that person to think by himself, not just to follow the word, but to think and consider until it's one's own understanding. And this is the best way to be a friend to anyone, good friend, not to show how much you understand, but know that how to help that person to be a truthful person and consider the truth by oneself, not just believe the speaker. So is seeing now real? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Is hearing now real?
Yes.
Very soft answer. Can they arise at once together
Yeah.
without
Hearing and seeing.
and seeing? Can they arise simultaneously?
I think yes.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
The first moment of life is just one consciousness, rebirth consciousness. Right, just one consciousness, rebirth. And then there's another consciousness, and that's the way to death. So what seems like many things happening is actually one consciousness at a time. But very fast.
Without asking, how can you understand the truth? That one moment of experiences is not self, but it has to be a reality which arises just to see. It cannot hear because it needs the eye base and that which can impinge on it and other conditions which are not known yet. There are so many other conditions just for seeing to arise. Because what is seen is sometimes very pleasant and sometimes very unpleasant. What conditions seem to experience such unpleasant thing? And how can that arise to experience just the pleasant things? There must be conditions for each moment. Not self. No one can do anything at all. Learn to understand the truth of that which arises by conditions and falls away succeedingly from birth to death. No one at all. But without these absolute realities, there cannot be anything to be taken for self or I see, I hear. If hearing does not arise, how can there be the idea that I hear? If seeing does not arise, how can there be the idea that I am seeing? See? That which has reason is the object of the idea of self. I think, I like, I hate, I'm having pain, see, something like that all the time. Whatever arises, there is no understanding of the arising from different conditions. There is the idea of just, it's something, it's me, or it's that person, or it's something there. See, not understanding that if it hasn't arisen at all, how can there be the idea of something? And how can it be this and that person as soon as one opens one's eyes? There must be that which impinges on the eyes. So the citta, that which the experience, arises just to see that. And what about the other? One by one at a time, so rapidly. So it seems how fast it is, because nothing appears as arising and falling away at all. Because of the succession of the arising and falling away of whatever appears now. So very fast. That's why it's hidden from life to life. No one can understand the truth. Only the Buddha, who has developed so great parami, kusala, in order to have less ignorance, no hindrance to experience the truth of even very short moment. That seeing is not the moment of hearing. See? And this is the great wisdom of the enlightened one. What is real is known directly, the truth, by the great wisdom. Otherwise we cannot have heard the word Dhamma. Whatever is real is so real, no one there. Because if it does not arise, there is no clinging to that which has arisen only. And then it's gone unknowingly, but you still cling to it. How foolish. Everything is gone. Until then, Panya develops more and more and more to have less clinging with wrong understanding. But clinging is there because it can arise without wrong understanding by conditions.
So, Ajarn, you would consider Sotapanna also foolish when there's clinging to what's
At
seen?
any moment.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not Sotapanna, it's ignorance, avijja, moha at that moment. That's why when we use the term pala and pandita, different ones, the wise and the fool, the Puthujjana is the fool, and those who have enlightened is the pandita. But for Sotapanna, who is not an arahata yet, both at different moments, one at a time. That's why he cannot be called or taken for a of them, just from moment to moment. Neither pala nor the pandita, because there is still kilesa, defilements.
So all we can say is that a Sotapanna does not have any more wrong view and doubt.
But still have avijja.
Oh, you have a question?
Just quickly. And so the anagami still has mana. Anagami. So
Only
is that
arahata.
still, but very, very
Different from
different to what we
Puthujjana.
have.
Yeah.